Hello there. Today I'm going to introduce three basic properties of numbers, which are the associative property, the commutative property, and the distributive property. Please follow along on your handouts as I explain these properties. Let's start with the distributive property. Formally, we write this property as A, B plus C in parentheses equals AB plus AC. So anytime they refer to a problem using distributive property, they want you to take something through the parentheses. As you can see here, you are kind of using this A going through the parentheses. So here A, B, it's right here. Then you're going AC, and you're doing that right there. And then you're just moving this plus sign in between those. Here's an example. 2, 3 plus 4 in parentheses equals 2 times 3 plus 2 times 4. And if you can tell, you're just doing 2 times 3, which is right here, 2 times 4, which is right here, and then you're putting that same plus sign in between. So this side equals the same thing as this side. Either way you do that problem, you're going to get the same answer. Now, we're going to move to the associative property. The word associative comes from associate or group. The associative property is the rule that refers to grouping. So there's two different types. You have the addition and then you have multiplication. In addition, you have A plus B plus C in parentheses equals A plus B in parentheses plus C. If you can tell, you have the same variables in the same order. All you're doing is you're grouping two different variables. So in this first section, it's the B and the C you're grouping. But in this one, you're grouping the A and the B, which basically you're going to get the same thing on this side and on this side. You're going to have the same solution, because all you're doing is grouping different variables. As for the multiplication, you have A, B, and C in parentheses equals AB in parentheses and C. And the same thing here. You have the same order of variables. You're just grouping two different ones, which is going to mean this side is going to equal this side. No matter what numbers you put in, they're going to be the same. Now here's an example of the addition. We're going to use 2 plus parentheses 3 plus 4 equals 2 plus 3 in parentheses plus 4. So when you do this math, you're just regrouping different numbers, but it's the same problem. You're going to get the same solution on each side. This is just the associative property where you're grouping the different variables. As for multiplication, you have 2, 3 times 4 in parentheses equals 2 times 3 in parentheses times 4. Same thing. Got the same order of numbers, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. You're just grouping the 3 and the 4 here, but on this side, you're grouping the 2 and the 3. Do the multiplication, solve the problem. This is going to be the same over here as the same on this side. Now, let's move on to the commutative property. The word commutative comes from commute or move around. So the commutative property is one that refers to moving stuff around. And as this one as well has two different ones, addition and multiplication. This is the easy one, I feel like, which is very simple. You have A plus B equals B plus A. You basically just reversed. Two variables, just reverse it. As for multiplication, the same thing. A times B equals B times A. Doesn't get more simpler than that. Here's some examples. So here's an example of 2 plus 3 equals 3 plus 2. Same thing, same solution on this side as on this side. You just flip-flopped. Moved around, as commutative means. Now in multiplication, 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2. Same thing, solution over here, same, oh, it's going to be on this side. You just flip-flop that variables, you're going to get the same answer. Now let's get to your second page of your worksheet and follow along. So, now we're going to do a review here. In number 1, we have 3, 4 plus x in parentheses equals 3, x plus 4 in parentheses. Now, think about this question and what we're doing here. Which property are we having? The distributive, the associative, or the commutative? And to me, it looks like we're doing the commutative because we're moving things around. So we have the 3 in the same position, and all we did was move around the 3 and the 4 and the x. See how 4 plus x is here, and then x plus 4 is here. So if we can agree, this problem right here is going to be the commutative. Now, if we move on to question number 2, you have 3, 4x in parentheses equals 3 times 4 in parentheses with the x on the outside. Now, we have the same properties that we can choose from, but as we think of this, this is going to be the associative property of multiplication. So we're going to go here with associative property of multiplication. And as I said before, associative comes from the rule of grouping. Question number 3. 12 minus 3x equals 3, 4 minus x in parentheses. Now in this one, we can choose from the 3 different types of properties we have. But as we look at it, we can tell that this is a distributive property. And it's a distributive property because we're distributing it through the parentheses. Remember how I said that they want you to take something through the parentheses when you're using a distributive property. So that's the distributive property. Now on these, I'm going to want you to just solve the problem and tell me what is next. I'm telling you what kind of property you need to use. So now you just need to remember what the associative property means. Associative property, again, comes from associate. So you're grouping. So for here, we have 2 and 3x in parentheses. So what we're doing here is we are regrouping. So we don't want to change the order. We just